You think you know the perfect morning routine? I think Patrick Bateman might have something to say about that. What's up, everybody? So, this is my review of American Psycho, directed by Mary Harron, starring Christian Bale. Now, this movie came out in 2000, way back when. And at this point, Christian Bale had kind of disappeared, really. I mean, he had jumped onto the scene with Empire of the Sun, directed by Steven Spielberg, which is a classic World War II movie. But at the time, it didn't really get as much success as some of Spielberg's later movies like Jurassic Park and others after. But if you watch Empire of the Sun now, it's just one of his great achievements as a director, and it's really a highlight in his filmography. But Christian Bale was like, I think maybe 10 or 11 at the time. He was such a young child actor, but already you can see signs of this guy is going to be good if he keeps at it. A few years later, he did Newsies, which was more of a cult classic musical type of thing. And then he just kind of dropped off the radar, and then he pops up with American Psycho. Now, just to give a little bit of context with American Psycho, it's based on a novel by Bret Easton Ellis, who also wrote Less Than Zero, which was also adapted into a movie with Robert Downey Jr. And with American Psycho, it was kind of like his critique, his satirical look on the yuppie culture of the 1980s. Yuppie comes from the anagram yup, Y-U-P, which stands for Young Urban Professionals. And it was this kind of Wall Street guy who was only interested in superficial things like the job that he has, the clothes that he wears, where the restaurants he gets into, the social circle that he has, and everything else just is a distant second. And if you've read the book, it's incredibly detailed, incredibly graphic, because the main character, Patrick Bateman, not only is a yuppie, but he's also a serial killer. And so he's balancing, the image that he is portraying himself to be with these violent and crazy urges that he has, that he eventually plays into and acts out later on. And if you've seen the movie is a really, really interesting adaptation of that book, because the book itself, to put it in a word, is boring. Okay? It is very much a character study, but it's done with such painstaking detail about everything from the morning routine, from the way he enacts his acts of violence. And it's all incredibly disturbing and at times mind-numbingly boring. And so the challenge is, how are you going to take this character study that works very well in a book, if you kind of like that type of literature, and how are you going to translate that into a movie of 2 hours-ish and have it be cinematic? But Mary Harron just does a masterful job of doing this. She takes what I always say, like with book adaptations, she takes the essence of the story, takes out a lot of the add-ons that can only work within a book, like, just the pages and pages of details, and then take all of that out, but yet still give the feeling of what those pages were meant to convey. And so it's done a lot with voiceover by Christian Bale, who does an absolutely phenomenal job of playing Patrick Bateman. He almost has his own cult following from the character. But I think the way the movie unfolds and how the narrative evolves over time is, I think, something that kind of gets lost along the way. And with the voiceover, it's, portrayed with, the morning routine and all the different kinds of shower gels and soaps and the 1,000 crunches that he does and all of that. At the same time, luckily, she does something that I really, really like when directors do when it comes to violence, is instead of depicting it in as gory a detail as possible, just like it does in the book, she makes the audience imagine it. So anything that you imagine is going to be way worse than it is that you can see on the screen. And so I love that aspect of it because it also kind of takes away the controversy that the book had to begin with. And now you're just left with the character piece and all about Christian Bale's performance of Patrick Bateman, which I don't know how he was able to do this, because when they say a dark comedy, it is incredibly dark, but his delivery of the lines and how he fits himself in the scenarios are just incredible. It was a perfect way to hint at the kind of Bruce Wayne that he would later on play in the Batman movies. And like I said, the line deliveries are what get it, at least for me. Reese Witherspoon also makes an appearance in this movie. She plays Patrick Bateman's fiance. And she's also superficial as well. The only thing that she's worried about are the wedding plans, and he could care less. And there's the breakup scene between the two is one of my favorites because it somehow is able to be very serious, but still very funny and ridiculous. And the line that he delivers with just absolute cruelty and humor is when he's breaking up with her and she is trying to get as to why that is. His one-liner is just, "You're not terribly important to me." And just the coldness of it makes you laugh, because the tension is built up in you and then all of a sudden you have to release it. And the way he says that line is just absolutely classic. And then the other thing that he repeats over and over again at times, which is ridiculous, but still kind of makes sense if you grew up at that time, is anytime he's in an uncomfortable situation and he wants to leave, all he says is, I have to return some videotapes. So for those of us who grew up in that time that rented movies in a movie shop, whether it's Blockbuster Video or Hollywood Videos, it rings true, but at the same time, in the situation that he's in, it just feels very off. So that randomness aspect too, it also kind of adds to the comedy of it. And of course, the way he loves music so much and how he is explaining in detail what he loves about the music they're listening to in that scene right before he does what he ultimately does to his victims. Anyways, it was done masterfully from beginning to end. Every performance is great. It's streamlined in a way that makes sense, that actually, as I said in the beginning, captures the essence of the story and the book and the ideas. And I wish he would just direct more things. Anyways, that's all I got for today. Let me know your comments. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Smash that like button, give me a follow, and I'll see you guys next time.